The Dark Knight Rises brought us the epic conclusion to Christopher Nolan's Batman trilogy almost 10 years ago. If you guys haven't checked out the other Batman reviews I've done, go on the channel right now. There's a playlist of Batman reviews starting from 1989's Batman all the way up until, well, this one. So here we are with The Dark Knight Rises. Just gonna make sure there aren't any cats around. At least 9 or more that are gonna lick us back to life. Okay, no, we're good. And no venom that's about to spill into anybody's bloodstream. Okay. Oh man. Thank God for that.
And now back to your regularly scheduled program.
That's so weird to do. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Hes Project. I'm John Ordolaza, and today we're reviewing The Dark Knight Rises, the epic conclusion to Christopher Nolan's trilogy that we got almost 10 years ago. This July, it'll be 10 years, so let's talk about it. Man, I was so hyped to watch this movie 10 years ago. I remember in the theaters watching it. It was a really cool experience, and now getting to see it with my new eyes, my new critiquing eyes 10 years later, I think it's still really good. You know, there's a lot of things you can pick at it and say, oh, this doesn't work because of how amazing the movie before it was. You're just going to want to pick at this one to see, oh, why isn't it as amazing as that one? Well, let's talk a little bit more about that. This movie saw the return and the final performances of Christian Bale as Batman / Bruce Wayne, and pretty much everybody else, Michael Caine, Gary Oldman, Morgan Freeman, back as their iconic characters from the other two films. It's the final time you get to see them on screen together, and once again, they're all amazing. Nobody is a weakness to this movie, dude. The script elevates them and they elevate the script. They're never losing. But we do get some new additions in this movie. We have Marion Cotillard. I'm sorry, that's a French name. I'm sorry if I mispronounced that, but she plays some lady named Miranda / revealed to be Talia al Ghul, the daughter of Ra's al Ghul, which is Liam Neeson's character from the Batman Begins film. I'll say this, she's a good actress in this movie. I really like her, but I don't think she serves the role of like villain or even like a love interest, because she kind of fit that mold just a little bit for the first half of the movie. I thought it was okay, but to be honest, both Katie Holmes and Maggie Gyllenhaal played a better role of Rachel Dawes than this lady played Talia al Ghul. I'm just not, I don't really care for the character. I like her in the movie. She's just a good actress, but I'm not sold on that character. I don't really care too much for it, and by the time they did the turn and everything, it seemed a little too late. I don't know. They didn't execute it as great as a last-minute turn like Two-Face in The Dark Knight. It was nowhere near that impactful. Now let's talk about Tom Hardy as Bane. Now, this is not the first movie I've seen him in, I don't believe. I think I saw Inception before The Dark Knight Rises. I know it came out before. I don't remember if I saw it before or not. And then he did a movie with Chris Pine and Reese Witherspoon called This Means War. Anyway, so he's Bane in this movie, and this is a radically different version of Bane than what we got in Batman and Robin. This is more akin to what he is, I guess, in the comic books, maybe. Just obviously, he's not, you know, comically huge and whatnot. So that the physical appearance of Bane in the Batman and Robin movie is probably what he would look like, a little bit like more beefed up, but this is what Bane would be like in the real world, because Christopher Nolan and his Nolan-verse is the most grounded superhero stuff we've ever seen. But right out of the gate, you see the differences between what Bane brings to the table and what he has against Batman, as opposed to what the Joker had against the Batman. The Joker attacked Batman in a psychological and mental way. Bane is just all physical, and he towers Batman in this movie. Dude, he breaks his back, he overpowers him, and he causes our hero to go into the pit for what seems like a whole third act of a film. I will say, for someone who isn't that tall, like Tom Hardy, they found a way to make him just as imposing as any of the other villains in these films. He seemed like a credible threat to Christian Bale's Batman, and I bought into it, dude. Every time he spoke, when you understood him, it was very menacing and very effective. But as I mentioned in my Dark Knight review, which you guys should check out, by the way, I had mentioned how Christian Bale deepened the voice of Batman, and he tried to disguise it and mask it even further with the raspiness. You know, it went down a path where like, it never bugged me that much as a kid, but obviously now I look for these types of things, and there's some dialogue exchanges between Batman in the other film where he's kind of talking in a lower toned voice, but it's still that raspy Batman voice, and you just can't really make out what he's saying without subtitles. Like, you need a little bit of subtitles. Now we have the same issue with Bane. Bane has this giant mask just clawed over his face, and when he's talking in an outside voice, a little bit louder, you can hear clearly. But there's a scene with him, and it's a really well-known actor. I'm forgetting his name, but he has a role in this film where he's kind of taking over Wayne's enterprises and whatnot, and Bane puts his hand on his shoulder, and he's like,
"Do you feel in charge?"
Some of the sound design in general can be kind of unbalanced, and that's kind of odd. I had heard a lot of people kind of complain about that with Tenet. Tenet had issues apparently with its sound design, like everything else in terms of like the sound effects and the score was overpowering the dialogue of the actual actors. That's what I heard a lot. That was a common theme with everybody's reviews when I was watching them, and now I feel like I'm seeing that and hearing that a little bit with The Dark Knight Rises, dude. This score, as amazing as it is, Hans Zimmer knocks it out of the park. There's no James Newton Howard for this one. It's just all Hans Zimmer. But of course, it's the same themes that they created from the first two films. Just, Han has his own like twist to it, and he melded his own Bane theme and whatnot. All of the themes in here are great, dude. But a lot of them overpower the dialogue in this film, and it kind of takes you out of it when it does. So I think those are the only complaints I had about the film. Except, Bane did go out like a I mean, come on, dude. Such an imposing, dope villain. Just goes out by a blast from the freaking bat cycle, whatever the hell it's called. Like, come on, the bat pod. Like, dude, that was not cool. I mean, it just came out of nowhere. It was out of left field, and he deserved more than that. A better send-off. He kind of just got deleted and swiped off screen. Like, really? Oh my god, and the pacing, I feel like, was another issue I had with the movie. So it's not like this horribly paced movie, but there's a part after Bane destroys Batman's back, it starts to go into a little bit of a time-lapse crisis. Like, they jump to so many different time periods. Like, oh, here's now like a month after he broke his back and now he's in the pit or something. And then now the bomb goes off in 3 months, and then 2 scenes later, 3 months have passed. But with all those complaints aside, I really enjoy this movie. It's a really dope conclusion to the Dark Knight story, man. I love it, dude. It's so cinematic, and all of the cinematography in here is beautiful. The score is beautiful. The writing is beautiful. The choreography is still not the strongest. Like, yeah, Christopher Nolan has never been the action director. He's never really been that to me. The Dark Knight films, in my opinion, have never really felt praised because of their action, solely because of the action and the choreography. No, it's pretty much everything else. The fact that it has everything else going great for itself in these 3 films is amazing, dude. There's so many good things about this trilogy. They hardly ever get anything wrong, and that's why it's one of the best trilogies of all time. And I mentioned that Catwoman is in here, played by Anne Hathaway, and she's very good in here, man. This is one of the first times that I've seen her, I believe. I might have been the first time. I really like Anne Hathaway, dude. We didn't have to get any origin crap with her about her getting licked by a dozen cats and then just suddenly start ripping up a leather bodysuit to make a freaking outfit. We didn't have to get any of that. No, she is working as a maid in Wayne Manor, and she steals the pearl necklace that his mother used to wear, the one that she wore when she died. And she's already a burglar, a cat burglar. So I liked it. I like the way they handled it. They don't have to explain anything about anybody else, dude. We don't get origin stories for the villains. I mean, with the exception of, Two-Face, but that was a really dope way to go about it, and they handled it very well in that film. In here, we're thrusted into this film with an already established Bane and an already established Catwoman, and that's awesome, dude. And this is the first time I get introduced to Joseph Gordon-Levitt, dude. He plays Officer Blake, and he's kind of like a younger Gordon. Like, he's that dope of a character, in my opinion. And pushing him into the forefront of this Bane takeover, like, Bane flips the city over, dude. He destroys all of the bridges so nobody can escape Gotham's island and whatnot. He releases all of the prisoners, gives the guns to them. It's chaos, it's anarchy, and it leads to a really epic battle between the police and all of the prisoners, all of the thugs and whatnot that stole Batman's armory. They stole all of the extra tumblers. It was a really dope concept. I love that type of stuff, man, and they pulled it off really well. And while we did get quite a bit of Batman detective work in the first two films, he's busy, trying to conclude his story here. He's in the pit for a little bit. He's trying to regain his strength and his muscle memory and whatnot after being out for 8 years, because this does take place 8 years after the events of the second film. I really do want to give another big shout out to Hans Zimmer's score in this movie. It's the most epic and the most spine-chilling of the three, in my opinion. I think it's really good, dude. The extended theme that it gives to Batman or Bruce Wayne when he's trying to climb out of the pit, dude. And then the people chanting in their own language, "Rise." It always gets me going, dude. It always sends shivers throughout the soul, and it gets me pumped up. I love it. It's really epic, and this is a great score for an epic conclusion. And so let's talk about the ending real quick. After Catwoman blows the hell out of Bane and Talia al Ghul is now dead, Batman can't defuse the bomb, so he needs to take it, tie it up to the bat. It's like the bat wing, essentially, and he takes it all over the bridge, takes it away from the city as far as he can, and it blows up. He's still in it though. They show him like flying the thing, and then it blows up. So it's presumed that Batman's dead. Although when Lucius Fox was telling him about the bat wing earlier on in the film, he said it's pretty functional except for the autopilot. And then they brought it up again like somewhere in the middle of the film. And then when Lucius Fox is going over the details towards the end of the film with the two technicians talking about the missing the bat when it blew up, obviously, they said there was a fix on it 2 weeks ago, and it was by Bruce Wayne. And it was presumed that he fixed the autopilot so that he could escape. And I remember this being a big topic of discussion when the film came out 10 years ago. Like, is he still alive? Maybe he is, maybe he's not. I don't know. Dark Knight Rises 4. But I'm sitting back here as an adult like, they pretty much telegraphed the whole thing, guys. I mean, they mentioned the autopilot like 3 times, and then Batman shows up at the end with Catwoman in a brunch, only he's using a different alias probably. Woos brain. But it was a really dope and heart-wrenching ending. You see Alfred, he's crying in front of Bruce Wayne's grave, and then he slowly walks towards the right to Martha and Thomas Wayne's grave, and he tells them, "I'm sorry I failed you. You trusted me into watching your son, and I failed you." And then he goes to this brunch in some other country, I forgot where, and he said in the beginning of the film, he always imagined going to this brunch and seeing him after they've gone their separate ways. He sees Bruce with a wife and a couple of kids, and they don't say anything to each other, but they kind of just give themselves a look, and that they know that that they're in a better place now. And that is the ending, dude, because that's him chilling with Selena Kyle or Kalina Sile and they're chilling at the brunchin', and Bruce or Woos and Alfred give each other one last glare, and he gives Woos the most epic and yet heartwarming nod. Dude, there was no arguing about this. When Alfred gives Bruce the nod and it cues the epic drums of that final score, it is top 5 best scenes in this entire trilogy, dude. It is so amazing. And as this movie starts wrapping up in a really dope montage for the ending, you get Officer Blake, or his legal name is Robin apparently. He finds the Batcave, and he has that same shot where Bruce walks in and then the bats start swarming him, and then he stands up in front of the crowd of bats, and then he steps up on this like pedestal or whatever, and the pedestal in the water starts to rise up. The camera pans into the really dark waterfall and then fade to black. It's done, dude. The Dark Knight trilogy has wrapped up, and Robin is now the new Batman, the new symbol for Gotham. And man, when I remember when that happened, that was at the very beginning of my teenage years, so I was all hyped for them to do a continuation with Joseph Gordon-Levitt as Nightwing or something. And I remember all these fan posters, like some of the most ridiculous like names for the movies, like The Dark Knight 4, The Dark Knight Rises 2, the freaking First Night, like Some of them were kind of cringe, like when I think about them, and I should probably look them up because that'd be kind of funny. But yeah, I was very hopeful as a young kid. I really wanted to see a continuation, probably just with Joseph Gordon-Levitt's character, just to see where that goes. But you know what? As an adult, I can appreciate what we got with the Dark Knight trilogy so much. I love these movies. I'm so glad I grew up with them, and now I can appreciate them with a different set of eyes and a different mentality as an adult, because there's so much here, not just for kids. I mean, really, not kids should not really be watching the full Dark Knight and Dark Knight Rises all the way through, because there's some gruesome, dark stuff in there. So guys, I'm wrapping up the Dark Knight Rises talk. I've rambled on for so long now. I don't have no idea how long this video is gonna be, but I had a lot of fun with this movie, revisiting it after 10 years. And I've seen it multiple times before then, but it's been a few years since I've last seen it, and man, I had a lot of fun revisiting this trilogy. It's such a good trilogy. I cannot stress that enough. And if you have not seen it yet, what are you doing? Leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you're new, guys, and be sure to stick around because we have one more Batman review coming before Robert Pattinson's The Batman debuts. That's coming out next week, and I will be seeing it Thursday, not early like everyone else. But I will be reviewing Batman The Dark Knight Returns. It's an animated film based off of the popular graphic novel. I really like that animated film, so I can't wait to talk about it. Anyways, guys, there's a bunch of content coming to the channel, and as I always say, there is more to come.